So we've been through this mentorship for really almost 6 months now. And we've laid a foundation of principles that I know can help you build your ideal business and in truth can be the catalyst for you accomplishing almost anything that you want professionally, and in turn helping you accomplish so many of the things that you want personally as well. So let's say that we're at the point that your business is functioning at a high level and you feel like, you know what, we're probably at 80% capacity in my core business here. All the peak hours, we're getting, we're getting a lot of traffic into, our marketing's functioning at a decent level. I'm in a position where I'm starting to act like a business owner instead of an overworked, underpaid employee of my business. So then what's next? What's next? What are you going to do? How do you scale up? Well, there are really two kind of paths that you can follow, and then within each of those paths, there are a couple of variations, some branches, if you will. So let's talk about those for a minute, just to kind of get the wheels turning, and so you can see what opportunities are available for you and start to think about what might be a fit in your ideal business. So the first path is potentially scaling offline. How do you grow your business offline? The first thing that so many people think of is, hey, this location's working great. I'm going to clone it and do a second location, then a third location. And you know what? I've helped a lot of people do that, and it can be incredible, but there are pros and cons, right? The first is you can't be two places simultaneously. I know that when I first had local businesses, I had one location in the town that I lived and another location about an hour and a half away. And sure, that was pretty far, and I didn't need for it to be that far away. But I always felt like, okay, if I'm in one spot, I'm missing out on what's happening in the other spot. And ultimately, they were both successful and profitable, but it certainly adds a degree of difficulty because, if you're like me and you kind of like to manage by relationship, that whole concept of managing, walking around, and leading through connections with the people you serve, it waters down your ability to connect with the people that are in a particular spot. And it also waters down your ability to feel like you're building relationships with particular clients in that spot. I know for me, there are a lot of people towards the latter half of owning both those businesses that might become a client that I didn't know. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's bad. It's a personal preference thing. So, understand that what got you the success that you have in your first local business, where you probably played a big part being the technician, the manager, the salesperson, and the leader in person, you don't necessarily get to have those same luxuries in that second location. So if you're going to scale that way, we have to take those considerations in. Now, if you feel like you've got ironclad systems and you want to replicate, what's great is that if you do it once, you do it well, it's something you can duplicate time and time again. So, in my mind, would I take that path if I was only going to open up 2 locations? No. If my goal was to open up 6 or 8 or 10, then yes, that's a great path to follow, but just understand the challenges, the demands, and the needs that come with that. So the second option, if we're scaling locally, is just expanding, be it expanding the footprint in your facility, expanding the staffing, and all that is really just doing more of what you currently do. Now, the drawback is, anytime that we expand, we have to account for the fact that, the profit margins are what we're trying to maintain. We're not trying to expand to increase the gross revenue. We're trying to expand to increase the profit. So we can't just hire people unless it makes financial sense for us. We can't, I've seen too many people who had a great business in a 3,000 square foot space move into 8,000 square feet, and next thing you know, they're struggling. They're kind of feeling like they're in quicksand and they can't get over that hump because they looked at, this optimism like, yeah, sure, we can do it, instead of knowing that, yeah, we already have these other things lined up that are going to allow us to maintain our margins. So if you're going to expand that way, understand that now you're drawing from the same pool of people. Remember, we're not transplanting this business 20 miles away and drawing from a different community. If we expand locally, there's only so far somebody's going to be willing to travel to show up 3 days a week for a fitness type of program. And maybe the distance somebody's willing to travel is greater for a sports performance type of thing because there are fewer options available to them. But there's only so far they're going to come and be consistent at there too. So if we grow in that way, we have to understand that, there's only so wide that radius that we're going to be able to reach is. Is there enough opportunity within that radius for us to get where we're trying to go? If we're trying to do it through adding staff, then we have to understand that for our people to succeed, we have to get back to the leadership stuff we talked about in previous models. Are we setting those people up to succeed? If you're going to hire somebody, there's no sense in doing it unless you're setting them up to succeed. So the third avenue that we can grow offline is finding other profit centers that don't necessarily take up more space or a whole lot more manpower. Now, what are those? Well, we can add supplements or make supplements more of a priority in our business if that's something that you believe in. And if you've got a product line that you're excited about, you've got supplements that you personally would take, well then that's a great option because I see people that's a third of their gross revenue. And it's a consumable, so people will keep coming back. So we've got supplements, we've got nutrition coaching, we've got things like corporate programs that do require some manpower, but not necessarily more space. And it might be an opportunity for you to leverage manpower you already have during non-peak hours. So those three are easy opportunities for you to bolt on more profits in your local online business or offline business without necessarily taking on a lot more overhead, without locking yourself into a 3-year lease, without adding another facility 15, 20 miles away. So those are the options available to us if we want to scale locally. There are plenty of other options, but those are the primary kind of 3 paths. Now, probably my favorite route is scaling online. And again, there are 3 core paths that you can follow. The first is obvious. Online coaching. That has become so popular as of late, and one of the reasons it's really popular is it's very much duplicating what we do offline. We design programs, we coach people to execute programs, we hold them accountable, but now we're not bound by geography or a particular time. And they offer you a lot of flexibility. You still have the responsibility to coach that person and ensure they're getting results, but you can do it during downtime. You can do it from your own home or even on vacation if you feel like. And what's cool about this is it's easy to kind of dip your toe in the water. You don't have to have a big email list. You don't have to, go and spend, hundreds of hours putting in anything together. You can go put up a sales page, put out some stuff to your network, to the people who aren't training with you now, and see if people would be interested in working with you in that capacity. I've seen people add anywhere from $1,000 a month doing some online coaching on the side to building full-fledged $50,000 to $100,000 a month businesses around it. Now, yeah, that's the outlier, but it just tells you that the ceiling isn't at $1,000 a month if that's a route you want to go. The second channel is packaging up what you do and what you do really well at a high level and selling that to other fitness business owners. And frankly, that's what I did. The first product I did was called the Personal Training Money Machine, and I basically worked with Eric Ruth to launch this product, and it just documented everything that I was doing in my local business and how, okay, this is what we did A to Z to grow a business from 0 to 420 clients in 18 months. And all I did was package that up, sell that to other trainers. Now, you can build the audience of other trainers. You can find somebody, like I found Eric, like I know some people like Fred and Billy Hofacker have found me to disseminate that and collaborate to publish that offering the way that I did with Eric originally. And or you can build up your own audience of trainers and sell what works for you to other trainers, be it the training side or the business side, or maybe even a blend of both. And then the third option that you have to build that virtual second location is the consumer stuff. Basically packaging up what you're good at locally and selling it to people who aren't in your market, selling it to consumers who aren't in your market. Now, obviously, the obstacle there is you've got to build up an audience of consumers, and you've got to be able to stand out because, you know, in your local market, you already have a niche. It's being local. It's being convenient to somebody. Once we get to that kind of global thing, how are you going to stand out? Are you, like with my wife, it was doing quick home workouts for busy moms. That was how she was going to stand out, because most of the other things at the time she launched were more general fat loss workouts that could be done at the gym or at home, but they weren't necessarily for busy moms. They weren't speaking to that audience. So how are you going to stand out in that market? But basically, if you want to scale, you've got three kind of what I would consider top level offline options and three top level online options. And any of them can work. In fact, I would tell you that all of them can work and work at a high level. But the key, like anything else, like we've talked about in previous videos, is focusing. So pick one, get really good at it before you say, well, okay, I'm going to do the next one. You know, if you're going to focus on supplements, do supplements before you start worrying about creating an info product for trainers. If you want to do online coaching, do that instead of thinking about, don't do that at the same time you're thinking about opening a second location 20 miles away and in the next town over. So those are opportunities to scale. They all have potential, but like anything, they take your time, they take your focus. But if you do them, they're potentially a gold mine, because now you're just leveraging all the hard work, all the success, everything you've already done, everything you've already created. You're leveraging that and building on it. And that's how you go from being a small business owner to a true entrepreneur.